you have to leave when you are at the top. So, for instance, if you are in this show and you don't realize that the Dutch league has finished, maybe that's your time to finish.
I thought you were about to retire then.
And move on.
You could do what they said Ange Postecoglou should do, a mic drop. You could just leave the Zoom, just like Guillem Balague has left the... Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Hello there. Welcome to the EuroLeagues. We have got Guillem Balague, Julien and Mina Rzouki all with us. Guys, always a pleasure. Do any of you know why tonight is a big night for our show?
Tell us, Steve.
The last one of the season?
What'd you say, Jules? What'd you say?
The last one of the season?
No. Hope not. Champions League final show to come next week.
Of course.
Good, yeah.
About
You've been booked for that. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Is
it because our beauty one is going to be on show?
Yes, it is, Mina. We've made it to YouTube, guys. Finally. No longer could YouTube say no to us. So we are on the BBC Sport YouTube channel. Not now, I should say. But if you're listening in the future, otherwise known as Friday, then you can watch this whole thing on the BBC Sport YouTube channel.
Should we wave at all the viewers?
Why not? Yeah, do that.
YouTube,
And we can see what Guillem's wearing and everything, and all the hot fashion.
And that's why you are in front of a Henry Rousseau painting, of course. I've just sent. Having seen you in the Zoom, I asked an artist friend of mine. I said, if a woman is in front of a Henry Rousseau painting in the Zoom, what does it mean? He says it means she's playfulness and dreamlike. She likes dreamlike escapism.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I think that's quite accurate, to be honest with you, Guillem.
What does he say it means when Guillem Balague is wearing a shirt of 1,000 colours? What does that tell us?
He's
happy. Personality.
That's his style, yeah, exactly.
Well, welcome everybody who is watching us in the future on YouTube. We're also live on 5 Live tonight. And actually, we're going to do the whole hour just reflecting on the Europa League final last night. I'm just kidding.
On EuroLeagues.
I'm just kidding. We're not even going to mention it. Why would we bother? Although, Guillem, I know you did have a little meeting that you wanted to say.
Not a meeting. I got a message 20 minutes ago saying from a friend of mine saying, I hear that you were in Bilbao. We follow each other on Instagram, so I must have put something there. Yeah. I said to him, were you there as well? And he says, yes, I'm Angie's assistant manager. This is Sergio Raimundo. We got the coaching badges together, and he's been telling me throughout his career where he is, what he's doing. I must have missed the last couple of messages when he said that he's moving to Spurs. So we were on the pitch together, but we didn't cross paths. So this is a sign that I think we end up now knowing far too many people, I think.
I also think you should now ask if he'll come on the EuroLeagues at some point, especially now we're also on YouTube.
I thought of that. I said I'll give you a call next week.
There you go. Well, we'll look forward to that. So we've got loads to get through. We're going to do one of the most sensational title capitulations that we've ever seen in club football. We'll talk about a possible reprieve for Sampdoria, the amazing escape of Le Havre. We'll also do a bit on kind of the new football fashion of the big emotional farewell. So we've had Vardy and De Bruyne in England. We will be bringing you Vertonghen, Ranieri and Lacazette. We're going to start, though, with what a Friday night there is in store in Italy, the only one of the 5 major European leagues to offer up a final day title decider. 1 game left to play. Napoli a point ahead of Inter. Inter go to Como. Napoli at home to Cagliari. If they finish on the same points, we get a title playoff, Mina, between the two. And actually, whilst you could go on paper, Napoli will beat Cagliari, if last weekend is anything to go by, literally anything could happen.
Yeah, literally anything can happen. But I would be really shocked to my core if Napoli throw this away, because they're playing against a team. Cagliari has nothing left to play for. On top of it, Napoli are playing at home. It's Antonio Conte. And yes, anything can happen, but you would just imagine in this particular game that they'll get over the line. So much so that even Inter seem to think so. So they're going to be heavily rotating their side. They're traveling to Como, a much harder team to be facing, considering Fabregas just can't stop winning at the moment with this team. and Como have a point to make. They are in 10th position. They are newly promoted. They want to show you how great they are. They have invested in the market. They've got really wealthy owners, really great players, a beautiful philosophy and a style of play. And it seems like they're really going to go for it. And it seems like Inter are like, you know what, take it, because our attention is going to be elsewhere. On top of it, Inter's really angry that this is happening on Friday. They wanted it to happen on Thursday, this final day, so that it gives them plenty of time to then play potentially the playoff game, which is now scheduled for Monday, which leaves them with less time to prepare for that all-important final against PSG.
And the thing is, it could have been even much better, because Inter took the lead twice against Lazio at the weekend when Napoli drew against Parma away from home. So it could have even been better. And I think, in a way, I agree with Mina. I think Napoli are going to win on Friday, and we won't have that kind of league final playoff, call it whatever you want. But I think it would have been super cool if the playoff final had happened, because it could have maybe given other leagues idea to follow what Serie A have been doing and do the same, because I think it's something super cool. Whether you like the goal difference or you like the head-to-head, and all our leagues are different. Some do head-to-heads, some do goal difference. You can find pros and cons for either, to be fair. But surely, if you're level on point after 34 games, 38 games in your league, depending, really, there's nothing better than having a final between those two who are level on point, instead of separating them with goal difference or head-to-head. Exactly. And just for that reason, I would have loved it to happen in Serie A this season. So maybe other leagues like the Premier League, like Ligue 1, La Liga, Bundesliga, could have thought, actually, that's a great idea. What a great game that was. Let's do the same, but we might not have it.
Well, I'm just going to say one thing. For it to happen, then we need Inter to get 1 point, and then we need Napoli to lose. Mm-hmm. Guillem, do you think it was going to happen?
Well, I was going to ask you, Mina, even though this one obviously implies two teams that are fighting for the same thing, but when there are teams that are not playing for anything, is there a possibility, and is it legal, to incentivize the team? So somebody paying another team to win. I'm not saying to lose. Obviously, we know that's criminal.
It doesn't sound legal.
It
has the distinct ring of being illegal, doesn't it? When you think about it.
No, we bribe the team to care, is what you're saying.
They used to do this They used to do this in the Russian Premier League. There's a great book about the Russian Premier League called FC Dynamo, I think it is. I'll remember. And they used to do it. It was called incentivizing. So Russian clubs used to do it loads, and then it was banned. So I think they probably can't, Guillem.
No, I'm talking about giving a bonus to win.
I know. That's what they used to do.
Yeah. You're not allowed either.
I think you think it's a revolutionary idea. I think it's been tried and
in
banned.
Spain, it was illegal until very recently. And of course, you actually manipulate the competition, so you cannot do it. But in Italy, have they dealt with that at all?
There isn't a specific law, but I mean, a lot of the Cagliari players are originally from Napoli. I mean, there's two. So a lot of, let's just say a lot of pundits think that they're going to throw this game and not really care. And but you have Zappa, for example, who's come out, who is the Cagliari defender, who said, don't worry, until we're going to give it our all. We're going to play the game of our lives so that we're going to make sure that we deal with this with integrity. I don't think if you offered every single pundit in Italy a bet, I would say to you about 97% of them would vote on Cagliari just not showing up.
Football Dynamo is the name of the book by Mark Bennett, so I just thought I'd better check that. But, Mina, on that, we could have made this same point about the game at Parma last weekend.
No, you can't. You couldn't have made the same point.
Really?
And I
Why?
say this, yes, because Parma is trying to save themselves. Parma are under a new coach in Kivu. Kivu was a player and a defender for Inter for many, many years.
But that's not why that result happened. That result happened because Napoli missed chances and then it all seemed to overawe them a bit, no? Couldn't that happen again?
I mean, firstly, there was a penalty that was overturned by VAR towards the end, which I think many people at the time thought that penalty should have counted and actually Napoli should have gotten that goal. But this is the thing. Parma are a very difficult team. And the way that Kivu has ensured that his team continue to show up and always play their best game, and considering that he is a former Inter player and it actually wants to ensure that Parma defeated Napoli so that there would be a very exciting end of last two matches, however you want to say it, but he really went for it with his team. And Parma have to play Atalanta, and they have to try to get a point as well because they are fighting for their safety. So it's a different thing to look at when you're facing a Cagliari team that has nothing to play for. But I do think that in moments that matter, we haven't seen a very strong team. And I think that disappoints me a little because it shows you that the real quality hasn't shone in the moments that it should. And I think it's brought down the league in that way. I mean, people saying this is one of the worst leagues that we've seen play in many years. This is the worst.
Really?
Football. Yeah. No, not because it's not exciting. It's super exciting. But the problem is that there just isn't really a great team at the moment. Everyone is somewhat mediocre at times. And if you look, for example, at Inter, they've been very angry with some of the refereeing decisions, and I can understand them. They actually decided to not speak to the media after their last match against, obviously we know what happened against Lazio, where Pedro, who's about to turn 38, just managed to have the game of his life.
Conte's big mate as well.
Yes, and Jan Bisek gave away a penalty towards the end in which Inter don't at all feel that was a penalty, and they feel they've been harshly done by in several games. But there's also a lot to be said with the way that they've handled the matches at the start of the season. In the first 5 games, they only won 2 games.
So the big question then, what happens to Antonio Conte if, well, do you know what? Not even if, Mina. Whatever happens, he could go.
Whatever happens, he could go. Lots of accusations of, is this a man who just loves to change things around and then not build upon his success? And now we know that AC Milan is looking for a coach. He has been linked to that. He's been linked to a return to Juventus, who, if you believe several reports, claim that they're desperate to have him back to reinvigorate a side that's lost his ways. This is what you get with Conte, right? I mean, he has his demands. He wants better players. He wants better infrastructure. He wants investment from this club. And he said this is the most tiring season of his life. I mean, he's never a coach who doesn't indulge in hyperbole. So, and listen, it is a miracle for him to, I say miracle, I don't actually think it's a miracle, but that's the way it's being described right now by the Italian media. This is all on him because it's amazing that this Napoli side that finished in 10th position last year is actually winning or very close to winning the Scudetto. But we need to remind you that 2 years ago, they won the title with Spalletti. And sure, they've lost Kvaratskhelia and they've lost Osimhen. But think about it. Just imagine he goes to Milan. First Italian coach, potentially, to then win a league title with all top 3 clubs, as well as Napoli. Imagine that.
And the important thing is everyone's very, very calm. So calm, in fact, that both Inzaghi and Conte are both suspended for the touchline for the final game of the season because of what happened last weekend. Whoever loses out in that title race, as football fans, you've got to try and remember it can almost always be worse. And with that, to the Netherlands and one almighty fumble. Ajax were 9 points clear with 7 games left to play after they beat PSV Eindhoven on the 30th of March. Last weekend, it was the PSV fans celebrating deliriously. They snatched the title thanks to the mother of all collapses from their big rivals. So these are the numbers, okay? Ajax had dropped less than 10 points from their previous 25 matches. They then dropped 10 more in just 4 matches, which meant on the final day, PSV just needed to beat Sparta Rotterdam, which they did to win the league. Oh, and the Ajax manager, Francesco Farioli, has quit as well. Let's bring in De Telegraph's football editor, Marcel van der Kraan. Hey, Marcel.
Good evening, guys.
I just thought I'd sum all of that up and just do all the data so we can talk about the fun stuff. I was going to say, have you ever seen anything like that before? But it's a record collapse, so you haven't.
No, and also the calamity with it all, I've never seen. I think it's my 44th or 43rd season with the Eredivisie, and I've seen some great collapses. I've seen other great title-winning races, but this really was beyond everybody. Whether it was, I spoke to Marco van Basten, Rudel Hullit, Arno Muren. Everybody was so intensely involved and really couldn't believe it. And I don't think it will happen for another 45 years.
So, Marcel, this collapse, let's imagine that Ajax lose the league, which looks likely now. This collapse basically will kill whom?
No, they have lost the league.
Yeah.
Sorry, Okay. Are we recording or is this live?
It's live on YouTube. No, it's not. It's recorded on YouTube.
I've been in Bilbao for 4 days. So.
Don't worry about it.
Start again.
It's fine. To be
now
fair,
that Ajax have
Ajax
lost the
fans
league.
also want to forget it, Guillem. So
Now that Ajax have lost the league, who's going to be dead? Who's going to take years for their career to come back to the level he was this season?
Well, the most bizarre situation really started a year ago, and I know we have discussed this on the program before, but to understand what the extent of what's gone off in the Netherlands Eredivisie with the biggest club of all time, with the biggest reputations and most beautiful academy and everything, we have to go back to last year when Ajax appointed in the season before Sven Mislintat, who is a former Arsenal scout, of course. He was given the reins of the club completely. They gave him kind of the key of the bank, of the safe, let him do what he wanted. And he brought in 115 million euros of players. Now, not all of them were bad, but a lot of them were players who did not fit in the Ajax style. And if there is one club in Europe where you have to look at and think they have a philosophy, they have an attacking style, they have a dominance, which was instilled by Johan Cruyff, Rinus Michels, which was gone on with great players like Van Basten, Rijkaard. Everybody understood the philosophy in the academy. And then last year, that was all turned upside down with importing players instead of bringing players in from the academy like they did before with Frenkie de Jong, Matthijs de Ligt, you name them all. And in the history, Patrick Kluivert. All these strangers, I call them strangers, from outside, did not understand the philosophy of the club. Now, it went wrong. Mislintat was sacked. The manager was sacked. Directors went. So they started again. And who do they appoint? You think after such a season, you go back to your root, back to your philosophy or your ideals of your club. They appoint an Italian, the first Italian ever who plays defensive football. You know, it comes to a stage where you think, how mad can you go at a club who everybody seems to have lost it? And this is where I think the season already started strangely with Ajax getting way behind. And by Christmas, everybody said, give the title, bring the trophy, that big silver plate, which is a ridiculous trophy, in my opinion anyway. I prefer a proper cup.
Didn't even want it, so...
Yeah. So bring it to PSV Eindhoven, let them celebrate, let them have a double carnival in February, which they always do in the south of the Netherlands. Let them have it. And then we saw the biggest collapses of all time at PSV Eindhoven of a side who played wonderful football until Christmas. Now, and this is where it was a crazy season, and where so many weeks later, Steve just summed it all up. Farioli, the Italian, has gone, and we're looking for a return to the Ajax philosophy, and who's going to take us there? And is Ajax going to come back to where they really belong?
Martel, can I ask? In many ways, I don't think Ajax was expected to challenge for the title. And Farioli, okay, even with his ways, he was pragmatic, but he did achieve something. And it seemed, so I've listened to very differing views. Some of them said that they did want Farioli to stay, and that actually they couldn't come to an agreement of how and when the style should be and the different metrics, but that they did appreciate what he did represented and wouldn't have minded continuing the journey with him, but that he wanted something else. Is that true? Or was it very much like, no, we don't want to continue with him?
I get where you are coming from. Indeed, it was a case of, did he jump or was he pushed?
Exactly.
And it was something in the middle there. He was slowly forced out of the door because everybody realized this is not what we want for the future. And we are making it clear to him, and this is what the Ajax director had in mind, we want you to change your style. But Farioli is a young, upcoming manager who has created his own style. And you can't really expect of him, with his Italian background, with his way of thinking, modern people, data, etc., to change completely to a way of football, the Ajax way, which has never been his way. So I could understand he wasn't happy with that. And at the same time, he was putting in demands which Ajax, because of all the finances or the money that was burned last year, could not afford. And we heard from very good sources that, it's almost hilarious, but he wanted 3 chefs to away games for the team. And he thought that would help. He wanted more physios. He wanted more doctors. He wanted a bigger staff. And the staff was already really big. And we were wondering, do you need one coach for all the staff and one coach for all the players to every game when you play with Ajax? And in a way, I can understand it, because he wants top level quality. And that is what he would want once in that situation if he was going to carry on.
There's a great quote from Farioli, actually, which I have to say is a little bit David Brent. He said, and he's in a difficult situation here, clearly. He said, the management and I have the same goals, but with different visions and timeframes about how we operate to achieve those goals. Now, that is like straight out of The Office. Marcel, just before we let you go, there are 2 teams involved in this story. It's not just about the Ajax collapse. It's about how well PSV did to get over the line. And indeed with Peter Bosz, former Ajax manager, winning back-to-back league titles. So he's the guy again.
In my opinion, he always was the guy. I have a great feeling for the kind of coach of Peter Bosz. Why? He's a Johan Cruyff man. Everybody on this program knows I'm a Cruyff fan. Cruyff brought the best football to the world from the Netherlands, from a small country. And it was all coming from the heart and soul of a man who thought you have to entertain the public. And that's why everybody in the Netherlands thought, well, if one guy deserves to win it, it will be Peter Bosz. And he did.
Marcel, always lovely to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
Great stuff. Marcel van der Kraan, football editor from De Telegraaf. Speaking of Pep Guardiola, you'll have seen his tears at Kevin De Bruyne's farewells. There have been lots of big farewells. In fact, it suddenly feels like if you're not doing like a big budget goodbye, then did you really care about the player in the first place? So we had De Bruyne and we had Jamie Vardy, some really, really special moments. Actually, 5 Live's Pat Murphy had to keep saying the GOAT because there was a banner, and that was worth it alone, I think, for the farewell. The big banner is essential. You've got to do the big banner, and I actually think, Mina, Roma's for Claudio Ranieri might have been the best.
Yeah, it was the absolute best. I mean, it was really hard not to be emotional just because Ranieri is so in love with his job, and he's so in love with the human experience. And he talks about the roller coaster of emotions that you feel as a coach, and that's what he signs up for. So it's not necessarily the trophy. He said it's being loved by the people that my community. And I think it was just such a beautiful tribute from the Roman fans for him.
Guillem, the other thing is, because of how well he's done, and I know he's looking at jobs kind of outside of management now, but we've been here before with Claudio Ranieri. He has done... Wait. He has done so well there, Guillem. It's not like you look at him and think, oh, do you know what? Football's sort of left you behind. Maybe it's time to move on. Like, he's doing this through his own choice.
It'll be interesting to ask him if he feels that. If he feels that to continue being at the elite for longer and not just in an emergency situation, he will need an energy that is required, a much bigger coaching staff, studying the new trends of football. And he just went like, nah. I'm not up for that. But in any case, you always have to live on a high. You have to live when you are at the top. So, for instance, if you are in this show and you don't realize that the Dutch league has finished, maybe that's your time to finish.
I thought you were about to retire then.
And move on.
You could do what they said Ange Postecoglou should do, a mic drop. You could just like leave the Zoom, just like Guillem Balague has left the... Please don't do that. Please don't do that. What about Lacazette, Jules? Alexander Lacazette at Lyon, that was pretty special.
Yeah, that was very special. His 392nd game for the club in 2 different spells, because obviously he spent 5 years at Arsenal in between. But a bit like for Claudio, really, because Ranieri is a proper Romanista, born and bred in Rome, and same for Lacazette, born and bred in Lyon, went through the academy, became a club legend. was stuck on 199 goals in all competitions for the club before that last game. So he had to score to make it 200. It was not possible, a bit like Vardy with Leicester. And he did it. He missed a few chances. He was very emotional even before kickoff. His 3 children came onto the pitch with him, when the teams came out of the tunnel. Maybe for all that emotion and all the singing from the whole stadium, he missed 3 big chances. Then scored a penalty, then scored a second goal. So 200 and 201 goals in his Lyon career. The second one given by Ryan Cherki, who's also leaving this summer. And that was also his last game for the club, and also a bit of a club legend for different reasons, like I said, but maybe the most gifted player that Lyon have ever produced, really. But for Laka, it was very special. And then they went back into the dressing room. They qualified for Europe, thanks to that win too. And then he came back out again. The whole stadium had stayed, and everybody was on the pitch, all his family, everything. And he was a proper tribute, with the videos, a lot of the tears. And then to finish this quite incredible night, like I said, realized that while he was playing, while all this was happening, all the tribute and everything, his house got burgled in Lyon.
No.
So I know, yeah. So in the end, not the finish that he would have liked. Well, yes, it was, but not really, considering his house was broken in when he was doing his last game for you.
Jan Vertonghen, Mina, did you see that one? That was a nice one.
Yeah, that was very sweet at Anderlecht, and his daughter held up the.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot the word for it.
board.
The substitutes. The time board.
Yeah, the board, just the
so
board. Yeah.
Just the board, so that he would be substituted off. And she was holding it, and it was a very emotional scenes. He stood alongside some of his ex-Spurs teammates, and they all waved goodbye. It does seem like that. It seems like it's a big farewell to a lot of those players right now. But still, I'm going to say it wasn't as beautiful as any of these.
Some still show more emotions than others. It's interesting because which is normal, the different personalities.
Yeah.
But Vertonghen, look quite still serious. He's quite a serious guy anyway.
He is, yeah.
And even Vardy after his game when the interview he gave, no, I'm okay, it's fine. I was ready for this, and so it's very interesting to see how different they all are.
Whereas
Well, and
Ranieri was so
with
emotional and crying.
Yeah,
you
you
know?
can see.
Yeah.
And you know where this is going, of course. People are going to get tired of players being sent off and all these kind of celebrations. I'm hearing people get upset when teams celebrate victory. So this goes next, I imagine, criticism of that. But about time that this has happened. This is a new trend, by the way. This is not usual. Not
What,
in
the big
Spain
farewell?
anywhere. Yeah, big,
I love
massive
it.
farewells.
I love it. It's like because you can do big, massive signing announcements. I think this is even better. Like, fans absolutely love it.
There's some selective ones in history. I mean, the Pep Guardiola one, of course, was emotional, but Xavi left and nobody shed a tear or organised anything. And he goes,
That's
he went to
awkward, though,
Qatar.
isn't it? That is awkward. If you'd be like, if you were that big a player, like every time anyone knocked on the door, you'd be like, here we go. It's the big surprise. And then no.
I remember Rai's last game at the Parc des Princes for PSG. He was crying. The whole stadium was crying. I was crying. My dad was crying. Everybody was crying. I'd never seen so many grown men crying in the same stadium for not even a win, or it was just for one player leaving the club. It was incredible.
Jose Mourinho's been crying again, but in a different way. This is a quote. So Galatasaray won the league and Fenerbahce obviously didn't. He's taking it well. The way you celebrate championships shows your human condition. Today's championship celebrations were like a summary of the stories of this season. They even made the goalkeeper take a penalty. What a great image to show how humane you are.
He should have added that the goalkeeper scored the penalty and apologised for it. That's not right either. Something is going on there.
Hold on. So for
almost missed
context,
as well.
This is Fernando Muslera. This is another farewell story, by the way, because it looks like Muslera is leaving. 550th appearance. He's been at the club 14 years, nearly 200 clean sheets. So they let him take a penalty, and they were going to win the league anyway, Guillem. That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, they were 2-0 up. They needed to win this. Galatasaray needed to win this game to confirm that they are champions. So
are we sure they're champions,
88,
or is it still in the balance? I'm kidding.
and I'll go on. minute 88, and of course there's a penalty. So I think he starts with the fans almost asking Muslera to take a penalty. This would have been, if he scores, his second goal with the team. First goal came in another penalty in his first season at the club, and just took a terrible penalty. Hit the legs of the goalkeeper, goes in. Muslera apologised, but then of course that sparked a passionate celebrations. All the subs from Galatasaray came on the pitch and celebrated with him because yes, of course, he's also leaving at the end of the season.
And by the way, if you love goalkeepers scoring goals, then can I just direct your attention to the excellent Ellis James and John Robbins show available right now on BBC Sounds, where John, in the most recent but one episode, has a wonderful anecdote about scoring a last-minute penalty. That sort of gives away the crux of the story, but it's really good. Go and listen to that. They do incredibly well with younger listeners, but I think now we're on YouTube, Guillem, I think we can beat them. I think that should be our... You need an ambition, right?
Yeah, we're doing quite well, but we have to do more controversy. Like sharper stories,
okay,
and
angrier
fights,
stuff.
Arguments.
Okay, all right.
Arguments.
I'm not very good at those, to be honest. I'm very timid.
Rotating fashion.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I'll leave
Correct.
that to you. Actually, just so kind of moving on slightly from farewells, but not quite, Guillem. This all sort of puts the pressure on for Real Madrid and Luka Modric. We've just learned that today, haven't we? He's going to leave at the end of the season. 6 Champions Leagues, 4 La Liga titles, hundreds of appearances. How do you say a proper goodbye to Luka Modric? I'm not actually sure. It wouldn't matter how grand it is. I don't think it could ever be enough.
No, it's 13 seasons. The man arrived when he was 27 and he's leaving almost when he's 40. And all those titles. There will be, of course, emotional moments. And you will have one annoyed person at the Santiago Bernabeu on that day, which is Luka Modric, who did not want to leave. He was ready for another season. He's kind of, with gritted teeth, accepted his role at Real Madrid. Not so much in the first season of Ancelotti when he was asked to be on the bench and he wasn't happy at all. But in this second season, he was coming on and making a difference. Real Madrid have felt that football is moving into a different direction, more dynamism, more physicality. So yeah, the one who was voted the worst foreigner in the history of Real Madrid in a Marca poll. In another AS poll, soon after that, he was the fans of Real Madrid preferred Ozil and Kaká that season to Modric, that wasn't taking off when he first arrived to Real Madrid. Well, now of course he leaves as a legend, and there will be tears, I'm sure, because it's the end of an era, isn't it?
And the farewell is obviously Saturday because that's the last La Liga game of the season at home to Real Sociedad. But not really, because he's going to go to the Club World Cup. And then the Club World Cup will be his last competition for Real Madrid. But you can't do a farewell in New York or in Philadelphia or Chicago for the Real Madrid fans who are in Madrid or somewhere in Spain, really. So that's, I guess, modern football for you. There will be a farewell and then another farewell in another competition in another country, not that much longer after.
Also, he's only 39, so he's got at least 5 years in Serie A if he wants it, Mina.
With Ranieri.
I don't even know what
See,
to
that's a
reply
very
to that.
clever dramatic silence used for YouTube purposes with
I
a
see.
face that said, I'm not happy with what you just said.
I see.
Really
Well,
good.
I was trying to do the whole argument thing, Guillem, and see how it worked. Nobody even believed it.
Oh, I see. Yes. No. Listen, like Pepe Reina, he's also retiring from Como. So he left Villarreal, came to Como, 12 appearances, retiring. Goalkeepers are different, somewhat different from Modric. Although,
I mean, he's still in his 40s and playing in Italy. That's what we meant.
well, to be honest with you, you're right. I mean, he still has plenty of time. And I'll be honest with you, if they offered him to any team in Italy, I'm sure none of them would say no.
Do you know what, Guillem? It's worth touching on Reina as well, because I suppose the difference with him is we're talking about all of these players who are having their last game either in their home country or the country where they've become most famous and most important, like Modric obviously has for Real Madrid. Slightly different for Pepe Reina. He's had a fantastic career in numerous different countries. If he plays this weekend for Como, that is going to be that for him. But his big impact... Well, there's quite a lot of them, but he had a big impact on the Spain national team as well, didn't he? Even as somebody who was not a regular fixture.
Yeah, he was the third goalkeeper for the 2 European Championships, 2008 and 12, and the World Cup. And he was a kind of cheerleader, but a leader as well. So he was the best third goalkeeper in the history of Spain in terms of his involvement with the side, how he protected the ones that were the number 1 and the number 2. And he was the first Spanish player to actually be in the top 4 leagues. He was very, very good at Napoli. Of course, he was at Bayern Munich with Pep Guardiola, who had been his captain at Barcelona as a player, so he's been that long around. And I don't know if I have time for this, but the generation of 2010 of Spain is little by little disappearing, of course. It's a long time since then. There are 10 players who are still playing.
Oh, crikey.
So can you give me 3?
I was going to say,
3 of you.
So Guillem messaged me before the show and he was like, have we got time for a quiz question? I was like, yeah, if it's quick. So when you just said there are 10 answers, I'm not going to lie to you. So 10 players.
One is Sergio Ramos, right, in Mexico to start with.
Sergio Ramos is one, yes.
So this is the Spain team from the 2010 World Cup.
2010 World Cup that's still playing.
David De Gea?
Oh, that's a great show.
No.
Sergio Busquets.
Busquets is another one.
Oh, Jules, you're absolutely flying.
I mean, I can let you play you too, but you sound pretty useless to me. So maybe just me and
One
Guillem.
more left. He plays in Italy. Short.
Surely,
Pedro?
come on. We mentioned him
Winger.
already. We mentioned him
Pedro?
already. No, in the Lazio game, in the Inter Lazio game.
Pedro?
Yeah, that's right, Pedro.
She said Pedro
said it
about
like
5
3
times.
I didn't hear you. Sorry, I was talking over you.
That was good. That was good, Guillem. That was over in
Who's
like
over?
2 minutes. It's very nice. No,
Juan
very
Mata, Javi Martinez still around. Raúl Albiol, of course, with Villarreal.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, those are the ones.
Nice.
Albiol was such a great defender. Yeah.
What have we got? We've got 10 minutes left. We've got a couple of things still to get to. Jules, this is a really simple question. I don't know how easy it's to answer it simply, but how are Le Havre still a League 1 team?
It's a great question, Steve, because they have the 26th budget in French football, so way below the 15th position where they finished the season. And for a long time, they looked like they were going to go down with Montpellier. They were battling with Saint-Etienne, and then they were potentially could finish in the third from bottom, which takes you in the playoff with the team that finished third from the top in the second division for promotion or relegation, basically. It was between them and Reims and Saint-Etienne on the last day of the season, and they were away at Strasbourg, high-flying Strasbourg, although tiring Strasbourg as well, but still young team, very good all season with Liam Rosigne. And we never thought that Le Havre could go and win there, while Reims would not win their game and Saint-Etienne neither. And it's exactly what happened, except that for Le Havre, it happened in the 99th minute at the Stade de la Méno with the second penalty of the game. And Abdoulaye Touré, who scored the first one already on the right of the goalkeeper, so his left, put the ball onto the spot for the second one, knowing that if he'd scored that, they would be safe. Against all odds, really, because they have no money. Literally, they could only sign players last summer on loan or free transfers. They had to sell 2 of their best young players from the academy before they could even play for their first team because they just needed the money. So they sold them on the cheap, and they have a great academy, and those players will never play for Le Havre, unfortunately. And yet, on the 99th minute, Touré scored a Panenka to keep them up in Ligue 1, which was just incredible. And I'm so happy for them. For Mathieu Bodmer, the former Lyon PSG and Nice midfielder, who's now the sporting director, who's doing an immense job, considering they have no money. I mean, to show you, their head of comms at the club is also the stadium speaker on match day. I mean, the guy does everything. I think he cleans as well, he cuts the grass. This is what Le Havre are doing, and they stayed up really against all odds. So it's a wonderful story.
Can we just reflect on what would have happened if he'd missed the penalty, though? Because a Panenka in that... I don't know if you guys remember. Jules will definitely remember because he's French, but you guys remember the Jan Kermagant Panenka penalty attempt for Leicester City? So it was in the playoff semi-final a few years back, and Kermagant steps up in the penalty shootout and tries a Panenka, and it's awful, and it's saved, and that's it, and they get knocked out. And it was that bad that... you know that song, Turn Around? That one. Can't remember who. That's the one. So
Bonnie Tyler.
thank you, Bonnie Tyler. Leicester fans did a version of that, which is absolutely hilarious, which is Kermagant. So he lives in infamy, and that's what would have happened to Toure had that penalty been saved. So I think fair play, you have to say, but also slightly questionable now.
I think so. I mean, Michael Landreau, the former France goalkeeper, missed one in the French Cup final, taking it in the penalty shootout against Sochaux for Nantes, and they lost the final. So you see,
Big, bold, broad question to ask you as kind of like the last thing on the EuroLeagues, the last sort of chunky discussion. So we've had in England second straight season where the 3 promoted teams up to the Premier League have gone straight back down to the Championship. I was given this stat by producer Paul, and it is astounding. The last time the 3 promoted teams went straight back down in one of Europe's other top 4 leagues, Italy, Spain, France and Germany, was 32 years ago. Okay, so everyone will be shouting at the radio. The reason is money, and money is a big part of the reason. But I just wonder, Guillem, whether there are extra nuances to it, because 32 years is a long time.
I think you will see that the trend is similar, perhaps not as acute, but similar in other leagues, certainly in Spain. I'm starting. I wasn't sure what to say of it when we first approached this issue, but then I realized that in the last few years, 15 teams in La Liga more or less stay in the division, and 5 go up and down, including a team like Espanyol that could go down for the 3rd time in like 6-7 years, which was one of the solid teams in La Liga. And it's all down to money. I think it's 2 things. Financial fair play doesn't allow to give you an injection of capital that allows a team to either go from small to very big, or to survive much more clearly in the first division. That's one thing. And the other thing is the parachute money that in the Premier League is massive. In Spain, there is a little bit, and it has to do with how many years you've been in La Liga, how many money you get from television rights. So 2.5% of the television rights is dedicated to be shared amongst the 3 teams that go down, which that allows you to, sort out your budget, but not much more. You cannot grow. So if you are able to have a good group of people and a good coach, you may go up, but find yourself that don't have the finances to compete at the top.
Jules, what about in France? What sort of extra, let's just leave money aside, because we know money's a big part of it, but there's more to it, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, the biggest thing maybe is that if your second division has a similar style of football overall, I know every club, every team is different, but certainly the strength of that league is quite similar to the top flight in the same country, then I think it's probably easier for a team going up, even without too much of the resources, to be able maybe to survive. And I mean, we saw Saint-Etienne this year. It's the first time where they've done the yo-yo, so going down, up and down again in their history. They've been down a few times, but usually when they come up, they stay for a few years and then sometimes go down again. This time they went down straight away. But still, I think because Ligue 2 is very physical, like Ligue 1, outside of maybe PSG and a few other teams that play very good football and slightly different for many reasons, but still it's a very physical league overall. And I think if you have that in Ligue 2 and you need that to succeed in Ligue 2 or in your second division, wherever your country is, and you still need the same ingredients in a way to do well in your top flight, then you might be okay. But it's true that there's more and more the gap between your top flight and your second division. And sometimes even your second division to your third division is getting bigger and bigger.
Mina?
Actually, with Italy, because there's less money at the very top, I think there's more competition, and teams who are promoted can stay there for a while, like we saw happen with Sassuolo, like we saw happen with Monza. Monza's relegated this season. Sassuolo is back in Serie A, but we imagine that it won't be long before Monza get back in. So I think there's more financial parity when it comes to that, and more investment in Serie A B teams right now. So I don't think that's the same for Italy. I'm not sure that those who are promoted will immediately be demoted in the way that the Premier League does it.
Right, let's finish with this, because we talked a lot about Sampdoria being relegated to Serie C for the first time in their history last week. Well, as it turns out, they haven't yet. So, start of this week, we learned there's an investigation into alleged financial irregularities at Brescia. They could end up getting a 4-point penalty, which would mean Sampdoria will be in a relegation playoff instead of going down automatically. Now, we've not got enough time to go through all of the various permutations, and we kind of don't need to, Mina, because the point is whoever gets relegated from Serie B to Serie C might not find out for months.
Yeah. So the decision as to what's going to happen with that has been postponed because Brescia, obviously, you know about the 4-point penalty potentially being given to them, which means that they are relegated and the Sampdoria have a reprieve in sense of playing a two-legged playoff. Now we don't know whether or not how Brescia will appeal this decision. It will take until May 30th before we understand what the judgment is on the Brescia situation, and then even longer should they then lodge an appeal. So we're looking at a play-out, Sampdoria versus Salernitana potentially, that will happen somewhere in mid-June. Now, we still don't know that because Salernitana, one of the teams due to play, who was supposed to play another team, are suing to have that decision changed and go ahead with the scheduled play-out against Frosinone, their original opponent, the opponent that they had trained to face. And so there is a potential that they will actually expand the league next season to 21 or 22 teams rather than the 20. And if you think that's messy, welcome to Italy.
And if they want to expand it anymore, just put it on YouTube. Thank you.
That's really well explained.
That was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Thank you very much, guys. Speak to you all soon.
Cheers, bye.
Guillem, Balague, Mina Rzouki, Julien Laurent, all with us on the EuroLeagues.
The Football Daily Podcast
on BBC Sounds.